Welcome everyone that is on YouTube. We're just a few minutes away from getting started with our incredible program today, where we're going to teach you the 7 steps that have enabled Alison Wheeler and my clients to create incredible outcomes and results for themselves from a revenue point of view. And what we want to do is, if you are on live in YouTube, you'll find that there's a link for you in the chat to be able to come and sign up for today's webinar. So if you're in YouTube and you're catching this live, you've got a couple of minutes to sign up. Now, what you're going to get is some amazing benefits. You're going to get 2 free ebooks that are both bestsellers from Alison Wheeler and I. The first one is Motivation Mastery, and the second one is Sales Mastery. Both are Amazon best-selling books, also hot new releases in the top 3 from Amazon. Those ebooks are yours, but you do need to sign up through the link that's in the chat on YouTube to come and join us. And we will be starting our webinar with you in just a few moments' time. So while you're doing that, I'll just let you be prepared for some of the information about our webinar and how some of the rules and terms and conditions. So while the strategies, techniques, and information shared during this webinar are based on experience and research and practical experience, it is important to understand that your individual results may vary. Of course, there are no guaranteed results, and the success stories, which are real, and case studies presented are examples of what has been achieved, but do not guarantee that you will achieve similar results. Effort and commitment. Your results depend on a variety of factors, including your dedication to commitment and the ability to implement the strategies shared. There are external factors, of course, such as market conditions, competition, and economic factors beyond our control that can also impact your results. There is personal accountability, of course, and you are responsible for your own success, and you should exercise due diligence and judgment when applying the knowledge and techniques provided. And finally, the content of this webinar is not a substitute for professional advice. Please consult with a qualified professional for any legal, financial, or business decisions. By participating in this webinar, you acknowledge that you have read and understood this disclaimer and agree to apply the information provided at your own risk. Thank you for your understanding and cooperation. And folks, we're just about right on time to get to welcoming people into our room. And before we do that, we'll get our recording going as well as, and we'll let some folk into the room. Let's go. Welcome, folks. Great to see you joining us. As some of you already on YouTube know, we are coming to you live. Great to see folks getting in the room for today's webinar. Alison Wheeler are excited to have you on board to help you get some real value and benefit from joining us today. So, of course, we're here to help you to unlock the 7-step scale fast formula that has been used and is currently being used in businesses in 67 countries around the world, including Australia and New Zealand, where Alison and I cover with our territory for the Scale Fast formula, helping businesses generate their revenue. We're going to teach you everything about that 7-step formula. And also, we're going to share with you specifically the actual actions that Alison Wheeler's incredible clients achieved with earning over 1.4 million Australian dollars extra revenue in just 90 days. We'll get to that detail a little bit further into the session. It is lunchtime for some of you if you're on the east coast of Australia, or getting close if you're in Queensland up there, and certainly closer to morning team at other times. Over in New Zealand, it is early in the afternoon already, so feel free to grab a coffee or have one ready, hopefully. Definitely have your notepad ready and to be able to access this information. We'll be dropping the link to where the workbook is, as well as where the recordings will be, and also where you can also access the free ebooks that we'll talk about in a session. Now, while the strategies and techniques and information shared during this webinar are based on extensive research and practical experience, it is essential to understand that individual results may, of course, vary. There are no guaranteed results, so the success stories and case studies presented are examples of what has been actually achieved, but do not guarantee that you'll achieve similar results. And of course, your effort and commitment is required. And as you can see, we do have our webinar rules in the chat as well. So as you've got have your name on, and only people with their names displayed will have the opportunity to ask questions at the end in the Q&A as we've got other people joining us. Please make sure that you raise your virtual hand, which you'll find at the bottom of your Zoom, to ask a question when we get to that section. In the meantime, feel free to use the chat. Obviously, there is no self-promotion allowed. We will remove folk if you are promoting your organisation. Please be respectful and supportive. And there are no AI note takers allowed other than via ourselves, the hosts. And definitely have your notepad ready. And equally, as we're about to in a moment, drop the link to the workbook where you'll be able to find that, where the webinar recording will be housed, as well as to be able to download the 2 free ebooks that we promised. External factors, obviously market conditions, competition, and economic factors beyond your control could also impact your results. You do have personal accountability. You are responsible for your own success. This system works, but you've got to apply it properly yourself, and you should exercise due diligence and judgment when applying this knowledge and techniques provided. From a professional advice perspective, the content of this webinar is not a substitute for professional advice. So please consult with your qualified professionals for any legal, financial, or business decisions that you may make as a result of what you learned today. And by participating in this webinar, you acknowledge that you have read and understood this disclaimer and agree to apply the information provided at your own risk. Thanks for your understanding and your cooperation. So now that we've been able to get through that, discipline precedes motivation. So we want to thank you for having the discipline to show up. People register for these sorts of programs and then they don't show up. Oh, that looks really great, but then they don't show up. You've shown up, and as team member Sienna is about to drop into the chat, you'll get access to both of our ebooks, Motivation Mastery, 21 Proven Ways to Energize Business Success, and Sales Mastery, Expert Strategies for Business Growth, both authored by myself, Alison Wheeler, and we are really excited. We also had Sienna doing some amazing work in the background to help us publish both of those books, which are on Amazon's bestsellers list. I'd like to introduce my incredible business partner in this space, Alison Wheeler, to take over.
Thanks, Gary. So just a little bit about what you will be learning today. So you are going to learn the same techniques used by our coach, Grant Cardone, who is known as the 10X mentor, or Uncle G, as you may or may not know who he is. We teach the same things to our clients in order to help them achieve massive growth. So Grant is a billionaire. He's got multiple companies, real estate, very successful companies. He's known as the #1 sales coach in the world. His sales platform have hundreds of thousands of people running through his sales platform and training platforms every single day, it producing incredible results. And we will highlight some of those results that both Gary and I have been able to achieve with clients utilizing the materials. So we are going to teach you real world applicable information. This is not a just information session. It's about taking the information and actually doing something with it, implementing it, because we know that they are proven methods. The methods are proven to work. So Grant went from poverty, so he was broke and a drug addict, through to a multi-billionaire. That's no mean feat all by itself. His own employees, so he has salespeople in his organization who are earning over $1 million per year. That's as an employee. So again, and it's applying the tools and the information and the strategies that will teach you today. As I said, the techniques you used by over 375,442 training sessions completed by business owners around the world. That was just last year. So people are absorbing the information, utilizing it. It's accessible to anyone with a desire to succeed and the willingness to 100% commit to your business. So if you are that person, then you're in the right place in order to learn what to do to maximize your business today. We'll show you how you can learn and succeed.
And
Back up
folks,
to
it's not
you.
your fault that one of the biggest challenges in business at the moment are, economic forces. And people don't realize in business that there is in fact a system that you can be applying to your business. So you can be creating your own economy, irrespective of what's going on in the macro economy. And it's fair enough that you might sit there and go, well, how on earth can I do that? Because I'm part of the macro economy. Yes, you are. Absolutely. And it does require at times significantly increased levels of activity in order to be able to generate your own economy. But what we've been able to prove with this system over time is that businesses are using these techniques and strategies to help them generate revenue, even when the macro economy is struggling, because there's just things that people did not know to do in their business, right? So we're going to help you that there is a marketing system, marketing and sales system that does actually work. And that so many people, particularly in the startup phase, believe that I've got to perfect everything before I go to market. We're going to teach you the complete opposite thinking around that. You listen to your family and your friends who said you were crazy, or other people in an established business that when you said you want to grow to this level, they said, hey, you're crazy. It's too difficult. It's not going to happen. Unfortunately, too many people in business listen to those sorts of voices around them. And you didn't know that from a marketing point of view, people need to see you. They need to be exposed to your services at least 30 times before they'll even engage with you as a potential lead. So even before they become a lead, you've got to be so active, so present that they know who you are. You've got to get out of obscurity. You didn't know that was the case. And look around. Things are tough economically, particularly here in Australia and New Zealand. We've had record insolvencies. We've got record numbers of business owners that are earning less than their top paid employees. This is happening all over Australia, where the business owners who are doing all the work are actually earning less than their top paid employees. Over 43% of Australian business owners just in the last financial year, according to our own ATO, earned less than $66,000 themselves, right? This is the people doing all the hard work in their businesses, and yet they're not making money. There's too many businesses that are in that situation. So folks, it's great that you're here to be able to learn and discover how this system works. Alison.
Yes. So why is it important to do this now? So number one, like Gary said, there's a lot of pressure on businesses and people with the current economic climate, etc. You don't want to be left behind. If you are waiting for things to change, you'll be left behind. If you're trying to keep yourself, like I hear this quite a bit, oh, I want things to stay the same. I'm happy where I'm at. Well, gravity will take care of that for you and your business, because nothing stays the same. So if you don't have a growth mindset, my biggest concern for you is that, your business will get crushed in just simple things like, prices going up. It is time to make it happen. Your business won't change unless you change. Your business isn't going to change unless you change something in it. And like I said, you really don't want to be static. There isn't actually anything. You don't want to be a statistic. We hear of a lot of people, and I'm sure that you'll know that there are so many businesses out there that are closing. You don't have to be one of those if you know what to do and you know how to market and you know how to sell. We know that 20% of all businesses fail within the first year. Don't be one of those statistics. 60% fail in the third year. 95 are gone in year 10. And we had record insolvencies in 2024. Don't be one of the stats. Learn what to do. That's what we're here to teach you today. So I did want to go on to, why us? So Grant ran a 90-day revenue challenge. The challenge was for us to assist and coach business owners to increase their revenue by $1 million in a 90-day period. So on the base of whatever they had, whether that was zero or already in whatever figure, to increase their revenue by by $1 million in 90 days. Now, I am the only successful coach in the world that has done that. And I coached the Franks. They had a dental business or have a dental business. Coached the Franks to do that. 1.14 million in 90 days. That was on top of their revenue. That's been verified. They've had to give in all their bank statements, so it has been verified to be true. $1 million in 90 days. Now, if they can do it, you can do it. The one thing that they had is they had a hell of a lot of hunger, and I will cover off some of the other things that actually created that for them later in the webinar. Gary, did you want to cover off a testimonial as well?
Certainly will. Thank you, Alison. So my clients, Jason and Uriel Line in regional New South Wales, they got record months immediately for their legal business when we started working with them through these 10X principles. Again, an established business. In their case, they'd been going for over 20 years, but they just didn't know how to apply the 7 steps of the system to their business. So being an established business, one of the things they found straight away was that they were able to leverage their existing clientele, etc. But they've had such amazing growth that they're now in the position where they've got opportunities to significantly expand their business because of being able to, for the first time, recruit some really high level solicitors to join the team. In the past, they've really struggled to do that because they are regional, but they've been able to attract some people from the cities to come and join them. And now that's freeing up the business owner, the most experienced lawyer, legal team member in their organization, to now be able to go to the next level and start talking and working with opportunities with other businesses within the region to be able to expand the business by acquiring other businesses. Now, previously, they just didn't have the opportunity to do that. Now, even the process of recruiting those staff folks, Jason and Uriel have applied what we've taught them from a 10X principles point of view about how to recruit because so many people are not recruiting properly. And then when they've got staff on board, they're not setting their staff up for success from day one. We teach you how to do that with your staff as part of the 10X sales system as well. And just some further examples of where companies have had some success with this. You've got some examples there from Garner Heating and Cooling. I was just on the call with Brad before we jumped in here this morning from Michigan in northeastern the USA. And we've also got the team from Charles Stuber in Hamilton West for the Wellness Acupuncture Clinic. You'll notice that these businesses vary greatly. And the reason for that, in addition, we've got Joachim Sonderberg from Denmark, who's got an app agency where they do an ERP system for clients that's covering Denmark and large chunks of Europe. And we've also got Justine Greenwood, who's got an incredible business called Rococo Botanicals. She is the queen of skin globally, the godmother of skin, and the fairy godmother of skin is Jaycine, also creating great success. What you're noticing with these companies, folks, is that it doesn't matter what your business is, this 10X sales system works. Right? We've shown you a variety of different companies that are growing their revenue by applying this system. Because some people say to us, oh, yeah, but my business is in X. It's different. It's unique. Yes, it is different. Yes, it is unique. That's the aspect that the business owner needs to know and understand, the unique aspects. At the same time, this 10X sales system works, right? It works irrespective of the business that you're in. And we've got that evidence just from not only the work Alison and I are doing with our clients, but equally from around the world. Alison.
So this is the sales system. We are going to run you through this wheel. This is the 7 steps that we've spoken about that we know if you apply it and you follow it, this is where the success comes from. So what is step number 1? So step number 1 is where it starts. You need an idea and you need a target. The idea is, what is my business? What is my product? What am I taking to market? What products am I taking to market? That's the idea. But then we need a target because an idea will only stay an idea unless we put a target to it so we can take enough action to get moving. A lot of businesses make the mistake of trying to develop their entire product and product line before they've taken anything to market and have any proof of concept. It will send you out of business doing it that way. You can take ideas and products to market and be testing and measuring and figuring out what works and figuring out the messaging that works and all of those things before the product is finished. Because how do you know that's what the market wants? And how do you know that's what they're going to respond to? Because it's an idea. But then we have a goal. You need to know, what is your goal? What do you want to achieve? What's the number? Reverse engineer out of that number into a target. How many people do I need to be seeing a day? How many do I need to be selling to? How many leads do I need to generate? Everything needs a target because that's going to hold you accountable to the actual action steps, because from here we have to take that as fast as possible into actually taking action. And most people stall on this idea target because they're not clear enough. It doesn't matter how long they've been in business. I find most people are not super clear on that idea and target, and it stalls their business, them, or they have a confused team because their team are out on the archery field, shooting arrows and there's no target, right? They're just shooting them out everywhere, hoping something will hit something. It's not towards a definitive outcome. And that makes a massive difference in whether or not you do or do not get results. How can you measure whether you're getting results if you don't know what the target is? So that idea to target, because most businesses go out of business because they don't get their product to market fast enough in quantities efficient enough to sell enough in order to get to that point. So step number one is idea and target. And then we move on to step number two. So once you've got that idea and target, you actually need to go out to market and get attention. How do you do that? This is marketing, right? This is getting out there and making noise, getting on your socials. If you've got a list, marketing to your email list, marketing to your database, speaking to people you know, telling everybody what you're doing. Take that idea to market, get on magazines, newspapers, flyers, whatever, podcasts, whatever it is. And we have so many avenues now that I think sometimes that is the problem. We have so much to choose from. People get into overwhelm and choose nothing. You have your friend ChatGPT and other AI tools that can help you with crafting the message in order to be able to get attention. There's no reason you can't be producing a lot of content nowadays and getting a lot of content out there to get attention with such things as AI to support you to do so. So if you're ever sitting there going, yeah, but I don't know what to say, great, go to AI, get over it, and then post something, because we have to have urgency and speed towards the target and getting as much attention as you possibly can, because best no one beats best. But also, why would you want to be the best kept secret? That is going to kill your business. Let's get out of this idea of, oh, I'm the best kept secret. Well, that is a surefire cry for your business going out of business. People need to know you, and you want to be first in mind with these people as well. So, but back over to you, Gary.
Yes, Alison. And with this attention piece, let's say you're an established, so just type in the letter M for me if you're an established business in the chat. Type the letter M in the chat if you're an established business, please. Thanks, Jared. Okay, thanks, David. Yep, great. Thank you. All right, great. So, and also Malcolm there as well. So we've got some established businesses here, and with that, what we're doing is, if you've got a new service or product, the same thing applies for you. You go from your idea, set a target for that new service or product, and get attention for it immediately. Too often, people are worrying about building out the idea or target before they go and get attention. Now, where that's wrong is, well, what if the market doesn't want it? You have no clue. You've gone and spent all this time and effort building this thing out, and you don't even know if there's an interest out there or not. You're taking a guess. So we advocate the moment that you have an idea and get your target, go to let the market know it's coming. Get some feedback. You know, with the books that Alice and I have done last year that all became bestsellers, we let people know they were coming before we'd finished writing them. The first thing we did was get the book covers done. And once the book covers were done, we then put them out to the marketplace and say, this is coming. Let us know if you're interested in that. We hadn't even written them yet. We knew what we wanted to talk about. We had the idea. We had a target for the number of the sales, etc. These are some of the simple things that you do with this step from idea to attention. Okay. So that then takes us from attention to step number 3. And step number 3, Alison, is
leads. So this is generating leads. So once you've got attention, that is when you actually need to be turning those into leads. So once you've got their attention, how are they going to become a lead? Are you capturing them on a landing page, a website, just a form on socials, a piece of paper? How are you generating those leads? Where are they coming in? What's the ecosystem they're going to come into? How are you contacting them? How quickly are you contacting them? So the next step is obviously to generate leads. You need leads. So marketing is superior to sales, but you need leads in order to be able to sell them. So once you've got attention, we want to turn them into leads. That attention piece needs things like a call to action so that you can start generating leads. Is what you're putting out there a call to action? Are your teams actually generating leads? What are you doing to generate leads? How are you capturing them? And do you make it easy for people to do business with you? If I go onto your website, is it hard for me to figure out how to do business with you? So you make it hard for me as a lead. And that doesn't work well in this day and age because everyone wants instant gratification. They want it fast, they want it quick. So back over to you, Gary. That is leads.
yes. And with your leads, folks, how do you know what a lead is? Drop in the chat. For you, what is a lead? How would you even know you've got a lead? What would be a definition you're using at the moment to know what a lead is? We've got 3 of you on the call at the moment that are in existing businesses. So from your perspective, how would you even know that you've got a lead? Because if we don't know what they are, how can you know when you're getting them? Right? So what is a lead? Someone who shows interest. Thanks, David. Someone who shows interest in varying ways. So what might they look like? So that's a great suggestion there. Someone who shows interest. And if they're shown interest, what does that mean that you have about them that you can now do with them? If they've shown interest in various ways. So email and phone number of a potential client center. Thank you. Any form of contact as a lead is my book. Potential sales from innocuous places. Exactly. So those innocuous places might be they've liked a post. They've put a comment on a LinkedIn article that you wrote. You've met them, and they, in the old school days, it still occasionally happens. They gave you a business card. You know, that's what most people sort of think a lead is. But a lead is someone you can contact, that you are able to directly contact them in one form or another is a lead because they have expressed that interest and you are able to flow back with them. That's what a lead is. A lead is someone that you can contact, whether that be via direct message, whether that be by following them and communicating with them on what they're doing and they're engaging with you. That is a way that you would define a lead. So it's really, really important that you are able to know what a lead actually is, because that then takes you into step 4 of the 10x sales system. And step 4 is lead management. Alison.
Right. So this is where things like a CRM, if you don't know what that is, customer relationship manager, is important. How are you nurturing and managing your leads? Because we know statistically that only 2% of business will be done in the first contact. So if you don't have any contacts past the first 1 to 2 contacts, 1 to 2 follow-ups, you are missing out on 98% of business. 80% of business is done in the 5th to 12th follow-up. So, what is your lead nurturing sequence? How are you nurturing your leads? What are you doing with them? And it's not that you follow up the same way all the time, right? We suggest do not ever follow up more than the same way twice. So you need to get really creative with what are you going to provide this person that adds value throughout that follow-up sequence and follow-up series. You need that to be laid out in a timeline and in timely so that you are capturing those leads and nurturing them along the way. Because the average sales cycle is 90 days. If you don't have follow-up throughout that process, how are they going to come back to do business with you? People are busy, they lose your details, they look and then they get distracted. If you are not first thought of, then they will just go and find somewhere else because it's easy to do that. So it's really essential that you have a lead nurturing process. If you have a CRM, great, because you can set up a lot of automations. If you're not at that point, Excel spreadsheets work well, a book, whatever it is, but some way of tracking and dating what you're doing. And as you grow, obviously that system needs to become more sophisticated. You can set up more automation so it's working whilst you're asleep. Because we also know that if you respond to a lead within the first 5 minutes, you increase your conversion rate by 328%. Who would like in the chat just a Y, an increase of conversion by 328%? Yeah, exactly. I would hope so. And that is as simple as ensuring that that lead is actually touched within the first 5 minutes of them inquiring. Now, that might be impossible if you're asleep. So this is where automations and CRMs and support can come into play. So, but one of the biggest things in nurturing is creativity. Provide them with some education, provide them with, testimonials. There's so many aspects you can do in that nurturing process. Back over to you, Gary.
No worries, Alison. And folks, what's the most creative follow-up you've ever done? Pop it in the chat. What's the most creative you ever gotten? And one of the things that we teach with the 10x sales system is the more clear you are about your goal and idea, right back in step one, and the more committed to achieving it you are, the more creative you become in those follow-ups that you're required to do. And so that you're able to be creative in your follow-up, okay? So being creative in follow-up, there we'll give you one little hint of something that Alice and I have done. Send a chocolate boot to a customer that might be ghosting you and say, hey, it's been a while since we've been in contact. I thought I'd send you this chocolate foot, like it's literally it's chocolate wrapped in foil. It's a foot, right? At least I thought I'd get a foot in the door, right? Now, that might be a dad joke, but hey, people respond to that, right? Because we do get ghosted, right? We all of a sudden someone might just drop off, but you got to get creative. You got to bring some humor into it, right? So I haven't had anyone drop anything in the chat about the most creative that you've ever been because you've possibly never thought about, hey, we need to get creative. We need to be creative to get people's attention again, even in our follow-up. Again, businesses are leaving 80% of their revenue on the table that they're not getting into their bank accounts because they're not following up. Even professional salespeople struggle to follow up 4 times. People that call themselves so-called professional people. And the longer they are in the industry, the less likely they are as salespeople to do follow-ups beyond 4, which is where the magic actually happens because they think they know it all. And the last time they ever did training was 25 years ago when they came into the industry. We advocate significantly that you never stop working on the skill sets for marketing and sales because they are, in fact, the two biggest gaps for business owners because every business needs marketing and it needs to know how to do sales, which takes us to the next step of the 10x sales system, which is sales. Sales and understanding how to do sales is the critical step 5 of the 10x sales system, folks. And again, so many people don't know how to do that. And Alison is going to just briefly talk with you about what sales actually means.
This is collecting the money. Now, that might seem a little bit self-explanatory, but the number one mistake most people, salespeople make is they don't ask for the sale. The number one mistake. What do you think is not a good question? There are many questions that are 100 times better than that. One of my favorites that I teach my clients, and I know Gary teaches his, is have you heard or seen enough to make a decision? Great question. Then you've got what are you doing as a second sale? Most people, when they purchase something, they will look to validate that through a second sale. Who's been to a shopping center recently? Just pop a Y in the chat. In the last year, have you been to a shopping center? Yes, exactly. Great. Now, when you've walked and watched around that shopping center, are people carrying one shopping bag or multiple generally? Just put a one or a multiple in the chat. Are they carrying one shopping? Exactly, several. Very rarely is someone walking out with just one thing. Why? Because it is buyer psychology to validate the first purchase with a second purchase. Now, if you don't offer that to them, they're going to do it with someone else. So why not look at different ways that you can support your customer to do exactly what they're going to do anyway, but spend it with you rather than someone else? Do you, in sales, as soon as you get an objection, do you know how to handle objections? Do you know the difference between a complaint and an objection? They're not the same thing. What are you doing to handle objections? If you get a money objection, is the first thing you do go down in price? Well, maybe the better thing to do, which is something we would teach you, is actually to go up in price, because maybe the person needs a price comparison in order to see value in your product. Have you delivered enough value? In the sales process, do you know your sales process? Is it simple, or are your clients or customers, are they getting buyer's fatigue in your sales process because it's too long? It's unclear. You don't even know where you are in the sales process. There's a really simple and brilliant 5-step sales process you can follow that allows you to know where you are and also your customer throughout that journey so you can guide them. Do you put proposals in writing? Do you even make proposals? There are many ways now and we suggest putting all proposals in writing. There are many ways you can get that information across to someone whilst they're with you, text, email. If you don't have, it in a pretty brochure, there's many other ways. Write it on a piece of paper. But people believe, again, in sales, people believe what they see, not what you say. So validate things in writing or with pictures. So sales, collecting the cash. And are you actually ready to collect the cash? Do you know how you're going to collect the money? Do you accept payment plans? Like, what's your process? Where's the money going? Is it easy for them to do a transaction with you? Or again, are you making it really difficult? People don't like difficult anymore. We're impatient beings and more so. So make it easy to transact and do business with you. Gary, do you want to cover the next step?
Will do. And folks, as Alison was saying, just get good at asking. Asking people, are you ready to make a decision? And ask it early. Ask it as soon as you possibly can, because too many business owners wait far too long to even ask that question. Managing the money is your investment in the systems and the processes and the people and yourself and your skill set. See, one of the biggest challenges for business owners is that your competency level, particularly on a marketing and sales perspective, is the limit to which you can practice that for your business. And then the competency level of everybody else in your business is the same. Too many businesses don't invest in the competency levels development of the business owner themselves, particularly from a sales and marketing point of view, nor do they invest in any team members other than anyone who might happen to have a sales and marketing role. Now, if you're in a business where you're all of those roles and you're not investing in your development, and yes, you spend some time, you read books, I've read 1,000 books, but I've still got the same problems. We absolutely advocate reading books, but that's not going to be enough. You need to actually have specific training. It's a bit like someone that wants to get fit and goes to the gym one day, goes for a run the next day, does a swim the next day, goes for a stepper machine the next day. They haven't really got a goal. They're just doing different things, but they're not really ever going to get stronger because they're only doing the weight sessions once a week if they're lucky, or once a month only. You've got to actually do reps. You've got to do repeated activities, like the 5 steps of the sale that Alison was talking about before. That takes practice to master, folks. That takes practice to be able to maneuver as a professional would maneuver in that moment. Now, if you don't know how to do that, step 5 falls apart for you. You might have the other parts of the wheel working, but if you don't actually know where you're in a sales conversation, and every business owner, no matter how much turnover they're doing, that Alice and I get to work with, when we ask them, do you know where you are in the conversation with a prospect in terms of being able to close that sale? They all fumble around because they don't actually know. Once we teach them that 5-step process, they know where they are, they then have the fluidity within the conversation to move backwards and forwards because they're in control of the conversation. And one of the things that the 10x sales system gives you is control. Now, the manage the money piece, which is your investment in your systems and processes and automations and your customer relationship management system, the CRM, etc., that Alison was talking about earlier in the model. So we're investing back into the model with step 6. That can get you to the point where you have predictability. So Cardone Enterprises, for example, they know exactly how much to dial up their spend on advertising to match the leads that they're bringing in so they can manage the volume of the leads, because they know if we dial up our marketing to this point with our advertising. Now, marketing isn't just advertising. This is just one form of marketing. They dial up their advertising. That they know how many leads that's going to bring for them to have their sales team speak with people. And they know on average how many of those sales conversations will convert into a closed sale. And that is a powerful, predictable place to be in a business when you can do that. When you are able to up and dial. Now, at the moment, we know we've heard that they've actually dialed back their advertising because of the strength of the leads of something that they did 2 weekends ago has produced so many leads for the sales team and then the fulfillment teams to handle it. They've actually got to control the leads coming in. Now, drop a 10x in the chat if that sounds like, wow, that would be pretty cool to be able to do. Just type 10x, thumbs up. Thank you, Malcolm, there for doing that. Like, that is a pretty powerful thing to be able to do. That's what manage the money means. And then that leads you to the final step, which is Alison.
And this is to scale, right? So as Gary's saying, you need the predictability, but now we need to bring in, this is where we're bringing in systems, systemization. So that could be automations, AI, and also people. How are we going to take what we have now proven to work and how do we bring more of that to the market through automations, AI, and people? So there's multiple parts to scale. One of those is to make sure that the system is actually documented so that you can scale. Because if you put people into that system and nothing's documented, again, they've got no idea. They won't be able to follow it. So at that scale part, it may then now be okay, great. I'm going to go around that cycle again. It's a cycle for a reason. We go around it multiple times where I go around it and now I document, I put SOPs and I put KPIs and I put all these systems in place. So now I can go to people, because we know if people don't know what they're doing, if they're a mystery or confusion, they don't produce. We also know that you won't hold good people if you don't have good systems in place. If you want good people, you have to be a good manager. You have to have a business that they want to be attracted to and be a part of. So that's scale, Gary.
Thanks, Ellison. And that enables you to be duplicated. So for folk that are in small numbers businesses or it's of yourself, it's the scale part where you're able to get your activities duplicated to the level that it no longer purely relies on you. Now, with this 10x sales system, it's like a series of dominoes. So imagine this circle were a set of dominoes. Now we've got them set up linearly here, but if they were to go in a circle, you want to have them so that each of the dominoes are hitting each other. Now, quite clearly, in any business, where this breaks down is that there could be a gap between any one of the the dominoes, where in fact the prior domino is not hitting the next domino. And the one that we experience the most, we're going to share with you soon, right? But before we do that, Alison's going to share some specific activities and actions that Scott Frank and Layla Grubasic took in their business to generate that additional $1 million US in just 90 days. Alison.
Fantastic. So here are some I've tried to keep them really simple. There is obviously a little more to it, but let's keep it really simple for all of you. Number one, they were so clear on the target. They knew exactly what was the game they were playing. Their whole entire focus went into increasing their revenue by $1 million in 90 days. And then what we did is we broke that all the way down based off their average customer spend, etc. What do they need to be doing every single day? So we broke it right down into very measurable, specific targets because they were so clear on what the outcome was. They doubled down on all of their marketing. That's both external and internal marketing. So their paid advertising, organic, and also all of to their current database, people who hadn't closed before, quoted, etc. Doubled down on their marketing, right? Number three, they called and messaged. They shortened the sales cycle, basically. So if a lead came in, they were far faster onto that. And then they also followed up more than they had ever followed up before. So they actually went to the 5 to 12 follow-ups instead of stopping at 2. They, like I said, they managed those leads well. So they didn't let any lead just off the hook because they hadn't heard from them. They didn't make up a story either. And I think there's mistakes in the rest of them. So in the sales part, what they did is they actually started to handle people's objection. They made a major mindset shift, which I suggested, which was to treat every buyer like $1 million buyer so they can turn up that way. Stop discounting that a customer may or may not buy based off your own preconceived ideas. Put them aside and treat every buyer like $1 million buyer. That one change increased their sales by a lot because they had gone flatline in their business and they were quite despondent. They started to buy into the noise that all the other dentists and everyone around them was saying, oh, people aren't spending as much money. I said, cut that out, right? Stop listening to all of that. So how different? So before they would follow up a maximum of 2 times. That's it. So they went to the 5 to 12, which is what we know we're 80% of business, and they were faster at it. So they sped that process up. They made some different sales offers as well throughout that time, right? So they went to deposit now, treat later, deposit the next step. So they shortened everything up in their sales cycle so that they could bring cash forward. Because a long sales cycle, unfortunately, doesn't work that well because you get paid so far in advance. So they looked at every way to shorten that sales cycle and to bring that in. They reinvested into their business. So not just that, they looked at what other systems can we use to speed this process up? Because they didn't have a big staff. They started to recruit. Now, that actual number would have been a whole lot higher because they had hired someone, but that person, by the time they had to change licenses and states and everything like that, that didn't even count what that person was doing because they hadn't actually started. We couldn't get them in fast enough when we started that recruitment process at the start of the challenge. That number would have been bigger had we been able to do that. From a sales perspective, they made sure all of their staff were within a sales culture and all of their staff were actually selling or had a part in the responsibility in the selling process. So it wasn't left to chance. Everyone in the whole entire organization knew their role and responsibility and had part of that responsibility and KPI set to sell. So, like I said, from a managing the money perspective, they reinvested into their business in order to continue for it to grow, training their staff, having their staff understand sales, them understand more sales, more marketing, so that wheel could go. And then For them, it was more systems because they were in the scale part. They were trying to bring in staff, but unfortunately, we just couldn't get them in that time. So that is the some of the simple things. Well, maybe simple, maybe not, but that is some of the things that we did in that 90-day period in order to achieve that result.
Yes, and Alison, it was an incredible coaching experience. The first time anyone in the world as a coach has been validated for getting that result, or authentically and via accountants, etc., through auditing. Just an incredible, and that's money in the bank too, by the way, folks. Like that's actually cash in the bank. And one of the scale things that Alison has shared with me over time was that, teaching the staff, and then that comment that Alison said about helping all the staff to understand that they're in sales, teaching the staff that when whoever they might be having a customer interaction to ask the question, would you consider? And when you ask the question, would you consider, you need to know what's on your menu of offerings to be able to ask that question. So this is currently sold clients. Would you consider? Is a very, very powerful question for people to be asking in the team. And again, so many businesses are not aware of what your menu offer might be to be able to do that. And that question is also valid in the sales step when it comes to, would you consider these terms of payment? So they were able to get people that might have been thinking of having this dental work done down the track and bring that forward through being able to use these sales techniques, and also the would you consider option for people to be able to bring that revenue forward. And look, at the end of the day, any business, drop a Y for yes or N for no in the chat. Would you benefit from having more revenue in the bank today rather than in 1 month's time? Absolutely. Yes. Spot on. Thank you, folks. I mean, it's going to benefit straight away. So with regards to this system and what we've seen here, the biggest gap that we know exists is actually at the start. Now, whether this be a startup business or for new services or for existing services, the gap between your idea and your target is what we call the massive action gap. Businesses are greatly underestimating the effort required to get attention in the marketplace. Folks, it's like we're all standing on the side of an autobahn that has 10,000 lanes, and every car on that autobahn who represents a human being is able to be driven at 250 kilometers an hour. 10,000 lanes, all the cars filled, going at 250 k's an hour. You got to do some work to get attention, because they're not noticing all those things on the side of the freeway. And that's why being ever present, we talk about being omnipresent. People say, well, how many platforms should I be on? Should I be on LinkedIn? Should I be on TikTok? Should I be on Facebook? Should I be in it? Yes, 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 and yes. Right? The more you need to be, of course, where your clients are at, but you'd be amazed where your clients are at. Like, people are often amazed at where they are. And then you need to be present so that when the clients are looking for you, they can find you. Just this week, I've started with two clients that the last time I did work with them was 12 years ago each. It just so happened they were both, in fact, technically 13 years, because it was 2012. And in both instances, I work with now the general manager and now a CEO who weren't in those positions back then. The only way we've been in contact over time is through using LinkedIn as example, and my ever, omnipresence there and activity there, so that when they're in the position to think about, well, who could I use for these services? Gary Ryan was the only person they even thought of, and they reached out to me and were able to very quickly close some deals for their organizations to help them with their business growth for one, and their leadership and business growth for another. So these principles that we're teaching here, folks, absolutely work, which leads us to, we want to give you some opportunity to understand, well, why is it that businesses are failing? They're failing because their targets are too low. The severe underestimation of the time, resources, and effort and investment required to accomplish whatever their target is. So if your target's too low, you underestimate and you don't invest enough as well. Those two are self-reinforcing in a negative way, folks, right? They're spending too much time competing and not dominating their sector. So this is, you're competing when you're in a marketplace and someone says to you, I went to so-and-so down the road and they can do it cheaper. And the first thing you do, as Alison said earlier, is you drop your price because you aren't sold that you deliver a better service. Like when people tell me that I'm expensive, I say, of course I am. And I smile, like literally, of course I am. And let's look at the reasons why that's the price, right? And that confidence that you have to have, you've got to be sold on yourself first. And again, we find so many business owners, so many staff are actually not sold on the service or products that you're delivering. They're not sold enough to believe they can sell them for that price. We encourage people that you are committed to the prices that you're utilizing so that you are dominating rather than competing in your sector. And everyone would understand this, but there's a severe underestimation of the adversity that everyone faces in business. People get sick, family members, something happens to a family member to distract your time and energy. A global pandemic comes along, right, and disrupts everything. All of this adversity is constantly happening. Some of you might be in an industry right now where, because in Australia there's an election coming up in May, so all the brakes go on. Well, they don't have to go on if you are already applying the 10x sales system and generating your own economy. So for those of you that are recognizing those challenges, money does follow attention. And Alison's going to share with you an opportunity that we want to share with you now.
Absolutely. So I wanted to cover off an opportunity to work with both Gary and myself. So we are 10x performance coaches with Grant Cardone. We are the only two 10x performance coaches here in Australia available to you to bring the content to you. So rather than having to go into a mentoring session with Grant, which will cost you well over 100,000 US, you can get us, and you can have us every single week. So what we offer is we offer our weekly Scale Fast program. We run that on a Tuesday evening each week, so 48 sessions across the year. We cover all of the things that we've spoken about in that sales wheel, but we go more in depth on each and every step, delivering you valuable content that you can immediately put into your business straight away to increase your growth and increase your revenue. So they're 45 minutes to an hour sessions. We educate, we practice. You also get exclusive access to our WhatsApp accountability group, Facebook group, as well. We also give you a whole lot of additional resources throughout the year, the availability to webinars. We do also have a whole lot of recordings. As I said, we do deep dive into on a weekly basis. We go into 10x math, mindset, marketing, sales, follow-up. So basically every part of that 7-step cycle, and all of our sessions are recorded. You get all past recordings. So we've got a vault of over 57 hours worth of content that you get added, as well as every time, if you miss one, you can catch the recording, or if you want to go back, you can catch the recording. There's handouts. There's so much information to help you in that, which is brilliant. Usually the cost for that is $497 per month, but we want to offer that to you for showing up today. We are offering that to you at only $197 per month, and that gives you 4 sessions per month, 48 sessions throughout the year. That offer will be available to you. It will be going up in price every day from here. So it's 190. We want to offer you a fast action bonus. Come and work with us, deep dive into your business. If you want to get results like the Franks, then you need to do something different. And part of that is investing into yourself and your business. So we are offering that price only for the next 10 days, and then that price goes back up. So Gary, over to you to take any questions or to wrap.
Thank you, Alison. Great work. So again, we are the only 10x performance business coaches down under. In fact, Alison was first and I was second. We were the first 2 coaches outside of North America, recruited by Grant directly and his team. We were, in fact, with Grant at 1 a.m. Alison's time and 2 a.m. my time this morning with our monthly coaching call with Grant. So you are literally, 1 degree of separation from Grant Cardone by having us through the Scale Fast program. $197 per month. The reason why we're doing that is because businesses in Australia and New Zealand need 10x because we need more businesses to be successful. We've got too many businesses failing, and that's creating heartache. It's creating divorces. It's breaking families up. And Alison and I, both being family people ourselves, as those of you that know us know already, we're very, very passionate about reversing that trend. We can't rely on our governments here to change it. We need to become independent of what our governments are as much as we humanly can. And that's through developing the skills and understanding a system that, again, we know is working across 67 countries in the world. This deal is crazy. It's $300 less per month. You do your math, that's a saving of $3,600 over 12 months. Immediately when you join us, you get direct access to that 57 hours of content straight away. We guide you through where you might be at as to where it might be best for you to go immediately. The other thing is, it can be really lonely sometimes as a senior manager and or owner of a business. It can get super lonely when it's just you all the time. And you can be surrounded by lots of negativity, and maybe you had a day where something didn't quite go through. It could have been the classic, oh, you thought you had this client, you thought you had this deal, and then something happened to them. So all of a sudden it's fallen through, at least for now. And it's like, oh, I really needed that deal. And to be able to show up on a Tuesday night with fellow business owners and fellow senior leaders within organizations where it's positive, it's supportive, and it's just a great uplift of your own mindset. And we've had plenty of members over time share that with us. Sienna, I'll just get you to drop that link in the chat one more time. Again, already tonight, you've got access to two of our best-selling books, and the recording will be uploaded to the vault for tonight. It's actually also uploaded to the 10x Scale Fast vote as well. So that does bring us to the point where we would like to just share with you that what will disappear is your lack of clarity around your targets and goals. Your inconsistent revenue, you'll be able to be more in charge of the revenue coming through the door. You'll have consistency and clarity around an effective end-to-end sales process, so you know where you are in the 5 steps of the road to the sale. You're going to absolutely not have missed growth opportunities, and you're going to stop leaving money on the table. In all honesty, once I came to this world, I realized the millions of dollars over my business's 18-year journey that I'd left on the table, that I'm like, oh my God, I wish I had learned this so much earlier. And of course, the fear of taking action. Again, the Scale Fast group, that collective group of people, helps you overcome that fear. So folks, we'd like to just create an opportunity just for the last few minutes for those of you that would like to ask questions to do so. Those of you on YouTube, we will say goodbye to you now as we end the live YouTube. If you reach out to us as well, take up that opportunity to touch base with that option as well on YouTube. You need to contact us directly to